pay twice for the same day. So they understand that. So they're coming in and taking care of those back overpayments. And then they can, and if they're still unemployed, then they can continue getting their weekly claims. It's it's now that we're in P Core 3, it's a little bit easier because there is a lot of people coming in, and it's a time process because when they come in, we have to validate the amount that they owe because a lot of times we correct it and it's in their favor.
Oh wow.
And that's the case. We want to make sure that, like I always said, I want to make sure I get as much money to the people as possible. And if there's a way that maybe they made mistakes or they improperly inputted their income, and we can fix it and lower their overpayment, then that's something, of course, we'll be glad to do.
Dave, given that people on reduced hours can't apply for the PUA in this round, have you seen a decrease in the total number of people receiving these benefits?
Well, I think there is a decrease. It's hard to measure because we started from a PUA 1 to a PUA 2, and then a lot of the people that were in PUA 1 expired. So they reached their 39 weeks. So they were all through the latter part of November and the first half of December, a lot of them dropped out. And so it's kind of hard to measure since our system, doesn't measure reduced hours. There's no such category as that. It's if you have income, you put it in, and it could be from various ways. But like I've told you, reduced hours there is a category for reduced hours, and that is a category for those who caregive or those who have to take care of their kids because of school closures. And it may be reducing as we get into P Core 3 and more child care facilities are starting to open up. And as they open up and the schools start opening, then that option may decrease for as far as for our people. But as it stands now, if your school is still partially closed or adjusted hours, and you still have to come home and take care of your kids, then you could be working reduced hours with your employer, or if you have a family member that requires medical care.
Dave, what about the
And I do want to make sure that the last guidance that we got, that part-time jobs, if you lose your full-time job and you're unemployed, you can still go out and get a part-time job and claim that income and qualify for PUA. That was a huge win that I put forth. It took a couple of weeks for them to run it up the flag and go back and forth with me, but they capitulated and gave me that. So I don't know if they gave me that, but they allowed it. So that is something that at least I'm trying to soften the blow of this reduced hours that they threw at us. So I think that was good news for our island too.
Dave, what about the job search requirement? People are asking me to ask you about that.
Well, the job search, the executive order that was last done by the governor said P Core 4, or unless she announces a change under consultation of DOL. So, we're monitoring the openings, and as more businesses start to open and they're starting to try to get employees, then we will move to requiring the job search. But I don't, not only me, but the governor doesn't think that we're there yet. And I don't think so yet. We're starting to open up. It is starting to look good. But requiring everybody to do 3 job search a week, I don't think we're quite there yet. I'd like to see a little bit more, vaccines and businesses opening up. And I'm trying to keep a pulse on the business community and, to see how they're feeling, and if they feel that they also are looking for more people, then, we will, change that EO or I'll ask the governor to change that and, make it a requirement. But as it stands now, it's still not required.
Okay, so everybody on the PUA, you don't got to go look for a job.
Yeah.
Dave, with this whole reduced hours thing, I mean, just going back to when you had first announced that people who were on reduced hours wouldn't qualify for PUA, and then the congressman chimed in, and there's kind of like a back and forth between you guys, and then it was like it got handed off to the congressman and the governor, and they both were saying, "Oh, we're gonna run this down and work this out and figure it out for the people of Guam." But has there been any progress on that issue, Dave? Have you heard from either the
Well,
governor or the congressman on that?
yeah, well, yes and no. I put together, like I said, two solutions, and they vetted it out, and they went the administrative route to write to the Secretary of Labor to ask for him to do administrative change. The problem is that the Secretary of Labor hasn't been put in place yet. It's taking a little bit longer than we anticipated. I know he went through some hearings, but he hasn't been confirmed. And this is something that, you need to have the Secretary of Labor look at. So I'm just watching very closely when he's going to be put in place. I have meetings after this with USDOL, so I'll follow up with them to see if there's any movement or progress. But that's something that when the new secretary sits down, that's going to be one of the stacks on his desk for him to review and decide on. And then we will know either way if that's something that he would consider or not. And so that is something that I'm hoping, the congressman feels quite confident. So I'm leaving it to him, and I'm just trying to concentrate on moving my program forward and getting the money out, working the appeals, working the overpayments, and getting all the requirements that are a lot that USDOL is asking for us, working with the OIG on fraud cases, working with the FBI, working with the AG's office. There's a lot of moving parts with this whole program that we continue to do, and a lot of it is behind closed doors.
Yeah, Dave, so I know that last year you had talked about a lot of the fraud was from these like organized crime rings in the States, but then you'd also said that there was a pretty good amount of local fraud. Can you
Pretty good amount. There is an amount of local, as with any program,
right,
you got 30,000 people applying, and you see the money is not too difficult to get. You're going to have people that are falsifying documents to prove that they're separated. You got people that are misrepresenting themselves as unemployed because of COVID. You got people that are filing for their family members who have no idea that they're filing because they have access to their personal private information. You have, these scattered, but in all honesty, when you look back, it's not that big compared to the States. A lot of the cases I'm working with the OIG are all mostly stateside cases. There are a few locals, and that's to be expected. There's always going to be some, and when I say locals, some of them are local people, some of them are some of the aliens or the foreigners that are living here, some of them you got the whole gamut. And it's to be expected because everybody's hurting, everybody's trying to get money.
So what happens with those with like the local cases? I mean, does it go to the AG's office, or is it something that the feds handle?
Both. Both. Depends on the case and the type of fraud. We will bring it to we brought it to either one of those two.
So how many cases have been brought to the Attorney General's office?
Oh, not that many, because the good thing about, I like to say the good thing about a lot of the fraud that we've caught them before they got paid. And none of these well, they're not going to go after the ones that we caught and not paid. They're actually want to go after the ones that got paid because those are federal funds.
Yeah.
They got it. And so they're more interested in the ones that really were fraudulent and we also have identity theft, believe it or not. There's some of them prominent people on Guam that had their identity stolen and people in the States filed for them. And those are the ones that we brought up to the FBI also. So, when you hear about, oh, be careful about your personal data being stolen, I've never realized how prevalent it is until I, started to see, it happening with our PUA program.
Dave, just to be clear again, because I'm getting some requests about that. There's no job search requirement, right? Is there? I mean, and I know the governor has it at this time.
There is no job search requirement until you see an executive order from the governor stating that she is canceling it and allowing it, and you will know when that happens. So there is no job search at this time.
I'm just wondering where this is coming from because I keep seeing a lot of comments and messages about it. There's no like federal guideline with the PUA that says you got to go look for a job. Is there? So there's no like the governor saying one thing and then the Fed saying another. Is that what could be causing it? The confusion?
There may be guidances on there, but I don't. It's been a while since I've gone into a claim and looked at it. Since I do appeals, I stay away from the claims. And so that I don't have any, I have a separation there, a firewall. But, there are always guidances. There are always some standard verbiages that you will see about job searching. So that might be where they're seeing it, is that, this is a stateside program that's been modified for Guam. And, our software vendor does it for like a half a dozen states. So maybe there is some verbiage on there about job search is required for this and that. And, that's maybe where they're getting confused. That's a good point. Yeah. All I can tell you is that the job search has been lifted, and that is done by the governors of each state. And so the canned verbiage that you see on the, maybe that's where it is, I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Is something that we can't just erase off because it's part of the overall program. And maybe that is some of the sense of the confusion. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll look into that. I'll let you know later.
Dave, are you keeping an eye on that new relief package, the $661 gajillion one, and how it's going to impact the existing programs that you have up and running?
I'm keeping a half an eye on it because, like the last time when it was like before the primary, there was like the House was coming out with a package, the Senate was coming out with a package, Trump was coming out with. I was wasting so much time trying to keep up with it all, and then nothing was passed, or they changed it dramatically. So, there is some things that look like it might be extended till the end of August. The FPUC might go up from 300 to 400. They might extend the weeks to 70 or something like that. So, it's really, I have to wait until something passes. And then once it passes, I really have to wait for USDOL to come out with all the guidances to say, this is how we read it, and this is how you're going to do it. And then that's what I really follow. But yeah, I still keep a half an eye, and I read the news every night and try to keep up with the gist of it. But I don't give it a lot of credibility until I know what, until it passed both houses. Then I know that at least the changes are done, and I have a sense of what it is.
Could you tell us a little bit about the because on FOIA, like the hiring and stuff, I see a lot of these like displaced worker programs with Department of Labor. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Say that again?
The displaced worker program with DOL?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have a grant for like $1.5 million where for the COVID recovery. anything that has to do with a COVID recovery work. And this is where we've hired, and of course, we had to hire people who have been displaced because of COVID, unemployed. That's the category. So I think we placed them close to 200 people, and they're out. Some of them are working, helping me with the program. Most of them are in public health doing contact tracing, vaccine control. Some are at GMH. Some are at Homeland Security. Some of them are Rev Tax. Some of them are at the mayors giving out food. So they're all doing COVID recovery. And we did such a success that, about a week ago, USDOL asked us to present to the nation how successful our recovery program was, and trying to tell the states, this is how you run a recovery program. This is how you hire people and get them out to assist and help your state or your territory, get out the resources, get out the vaccines, do the contact tracing, do what is required to help other departments, try to keep up with the demands of the recovery. And that's going to bode well for us when they decide to fund the second round for the DW program, when they know that we were top in the nation in running the recovery program. So I'm quite proud of that, and USDOL is holds us in high regards for that program, because a lot of states aren't spending the money, and I don't like having federal monies not being spent.
Yeah. What about so we're PCOR 3 now, and there's a lot of like other things that Department of Labor normally does, right? Other than the PUA and the FPUG, that's kind of been the focus. What about anything on the enforcement side? Now that it's PCOR 3, are you guys like back out doing stuff, or did you stop, or just what's the status on that?
No, OSHA is moving forward and going out and starting to do what OSHA does. Our Fair Employment Office has been holding Zoom meetings and setting up meetings. Our wage and hour is going full force and receiving. So a lot of our enforcements are all business as usual. They're slowly ramping up and slowly moving forward, but we're keeping up with the workload, because the workload isn't as heavy as normal, because businesses are just starting to open up. So that's a good thing. So as we're ramping up, the businesses are also ramping up. And in the meanwhile, a lot of the enforcement, we're still doing training through Zoom, and still working with the employers that are open. So I'm quite, happy to say that, we are keeping up with all the demands and staying ahead of the game on that. Thanks for that question.
We had a comment here. Please ask about the status of LWA payments.
LWA payments are going out, and they're, as we batch PUA, we batch the PUA, the FPUC, and the LWA. Of course, the LWA is shrinking dramatically, because that was a 6-week program at the end of July through September. So a lot of those people have already been paid, already been taken care of. I think out of the $45 million that we were allotted, we've already gave out more than $43 million of it. So you can see it's starting to, it's going to run out soon. Maybe not, because really, I think it was only like 50,000 for the last batch, was in the LWA. So all the LWA payments are pretty much taken care of. I mean, the last batch of $20 million only had 50,000 in LWA payments. So you can see it's pretty much sunsetting.
Dave, what about going back to PCOR 3, and you got your office's operations? Are you open for walk-ins? Can people just come in now if they have issues with the PUA or, any other type of DOL issues?
Some of our offices are open for walk-in. Some are still working with appointments, and some are, I think, this coming at the beginning of this month will open the doors for the balance of them. So a lot of us, we're just restructuring and getting out there, but within the next week or two, we're ready for walk-ins. We are doing walk-ins as far as the overpayments. They've been coming in, and we're going to be adjusting that. And the libraries that are out there are still by appointment only. And if people walk up and, if we're not so crowded, we'll either give them an appointment or we'll handle them. But we're still pretty full with the appointments, and we're kind of waiting for those numbers to go down, and then we'll take the walk-ins. So we are slowly working our way. A lot of us our offices are doing and allowing walk-ins, and probably by the beginning of March, we should be fairly pretty much business as usual. And we'll be making those announcements and those press releases, so we'll make sure that you get those notices as we fully open.
Thank you,
Controlled open is what we really want to try to do.
Did your office have any involvement with that USDOL release that had come out?
Say that again?
The USDOL release that had come out about I think it was some wage and hour violations with a local construction company.
Oh, yeah. We're always involved in those things. And a lot of those things, I'm not saying, a lot of those cases were either implemented, started by us and through our enforcement efforts, and then we hand it off to USDOL, who we have an agreement with and we have a partnership with. And so, they're geared better to go after that kind of stuff, and we assist them, we work with them, and we're able to use our credentials and stuff to help them, get in and to understand what's going on. So it's always a partnership. And even during this whole PUA program, I like to say that the U.S. wage and hour took a lot of our wage and hour cases because a lot of our people were helping with the PUA. And so they said, Dave, if you get whatever few wage and hour cases you get, kick them over to us. We'll handle them for you so that you can help get the money out and help your people. And that's the kind of relationship that we have with them. So it is a strong partnership. And yes, we do assist and help them with those type of cases.
All right, Dave. Anything in closing?
No, I think that, we're doing a great job. I like to think, I know the phone calls are always a challenge, but you got to remember those people that answer the phone calls, they take about 10, 15 minutes to handle each claimant that calls because we try to take care of them. We just don't take a number and say, oh yeah, okay, thank you. We go into their claims, we fix them, and we satisfy whatever their questions or their issues are, and we move on. And I like to think that, we have it's tough getting through, and I know it is, but they are getting through, they are being handled, we are getting the claimants seen, we are getting their claims put in, and we are getting the money out, and I think we're over $560 million that are out. So I like to give kudos to my staff. They're still working 6 days a week, and it's a constant battle too, because as one program ends, they kick and start back up again, and we shift these people around, and it's a never-ending shifting of resources to keep our head above water. And I like to thank my staff for their continuing hard work.
All right.
How about you, Chris? Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Yep. How about you? You good? We're both good, I think. Gonna move on. I got to take a break, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right. I thank you for asking me on, Chris. It's always a pleasure.
Anytime. See you, Dave Dell'isola. Okay, hasta. Dave Dell'isola, of course, Department of Labor Director, with the update there. It's 7:28. We are going to take a little break. And coming up, Dr. Felix Cabrera, who is the Chief Medical Officer of Public Health, and Janella Carrera, who's the PIO of Public Health. And we'll talk about Maybe touch a little bit on the reopening of bars. Did they hear anything? Was there any public health people out there checking on that? And then also, I know that they have a bunch of stuff going on with testing and whatnot. So that's coming up next right here